Hey everybody, Mark Pryor here for the California Wine Exchange, and this is Wine Tasting for the Beginner. I'd like to preface this by saying that this is a super simplified method of wine tasting that I came up with, and this is not for somms, this is not for masters of wine, this is for the beginners, and those wine types are probably going to be pulling out their hair as this video goes along, and my comment section may blow up, but this is just for people that are starting off. Okay, so here we go. Welcome to the world of wine. So it's a fun thing to enjoy wine and to discover new wines, but if you're like me in the beginning, you got a little overwhelmed when you walk into like a wine shop or one of those big beverage retailers, and you've got aisles and aisles of choices, and then the tenant comes over and says, well, how can I help you today? And you say, well, I'm just browsing. And what's happening is like, you know you like wine, but you don't really know how to describe what you like. Well, now you're all alone. This video is going to put an end to that. So the objective here is to enable you to sort out why you do and why you don't like certain types of wine, and be able to communicate that the next time you go wine shopping. Let's jump right in. I've got a bottle of wine here. This is from Rancho Sisquoc. This is in Santa Barbara County. I've actually been to this vineyard before. It's a beautiful place. I've not had this particular wine from them before. This is what they call Sisquoc River Red. It's a red wine blend. It's from 2017, and we're going to jump right in here. And so this is not a video on how to open a bottle of wine. This is just how I'm doing this right now, and bear with me. I like getting all the boil off, so there we go. Now, we're nearly there. By the way, I like using the double step corkscrew. Now, when it comes to wine, go ahead and just pour yourself a little bit in the glass. Okay, not a lot. The whole purpose for that is you want to be able to swirl it around. Okay. The whole reason for swirling around, this is not pretentious. Okay. This has a very useful purpose. One is it's going to help air out some of the alcohol fuminess in the wine. And two, as the wine gets up along the sides, you increase the surface area, and so that's going to be able to enable you to smell the aromas in the wine glass a little bit better. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to smell, okay? And when you do this, all you're looking for here is just whatever the wine reminds you of, okay? And don't be afraid to go back and forth a little bit, swirl it, get it up on the sides again. It's going to help you, really help you get in there and smell the different aromas. Ooh. So there's definitely some blackberry and some raspberry. And there's definitely like a little bit of smokiness in there. I really like the aromas in this glass. This is I'm really looking forward to this. But the important thing here is to take notes. So what we're going to do is you got a blank sheet of paper, and I want you to just start by drawing a square. Okay? Okay? And then you want to divide that square into 4 squares. Okay? So the first square is everything that we smelled. So we're going to write in there blackberry, and raspberry, and a touch of smokiness. The next thing that we're going to be looking for, and this is where we get to the actual tasting, is we're looking for the body. Now this is really kind of the simple way of explaining this is thickness, viscosity. So when you put it in your mouth, it can be very thin or light-bodied, or it can be very full-bodied, and that's the kind where it kind of clings to your tongue and it feels like, you know, your tongue is swimming around in the wine, versus light where the wine is just kind of like, you know, rinsing off the tongue very easily. So that's the easiest way I can describe it. That's the way that again, this is just kind of a beginning way of interpreting the the wine. So it's really good. So this is actually, for me, this is kind of a medium body, and we're going to write that down in our next square. Okay. Now, when it comes to the next square, block number 3, we're looking for sweetness, or the lack thereof. And in the scheme of things, you've got, I want you to think of a scale of 5. So on one end you've got sweet, and the other end you've got dry. It doesn't matter which end is which, okay? So you've got sweetness at one end, dry at the other. Now, right next to sweet is semi-sweet, and right next to dry is semi-dry. And so right there in the center is what we call balanced. Now, when it comes to a balanced wine, it's typically when you're tasting the wine and you think, well, is it semi-sweet or is it semi-dry? And if you can't figure out which is which, chances are that you are drinking a balanced wine. Again, this is one of those points where the comment section may blow up a little bit here, because sometimes balance is also referred to as like acidity. Don't concern your things about acidity right now. Don't worry about tannins. Don't worry about color. Don't worry about legs. None of that stuff is going to help you pick out a wine at the wine shop, okay? This is just about what you're tasting in your mouth. This is just getting you started here, and eventually you're going to pick up those things down the road. So, but as for sweetness, we're going to check that out right now. So this is actually kind of a sweet wine. And keep in mind, when I say sweet, we're not including dessert wines. We're not including like Moscatos, which are traditionally very sweet wines. But we're talking about everyday wines here, wines that are like a bottle that you would open up with a friend, wine that you would have at dinner, or maybe a glass of wine on a date. That's the kind of wine that we're going for here. But in the scheme of things, this is definitely not dry. That is definitely, for me, that is a little sweeter. I would say that's somewhere between semi-sweet and sweet. Okay, so we're going to put down, I'm just going to go ahead and say semi-sweet. Now, the next block is actually the most fun block, and that's flavors, okay? There's all kinds of flavors from different kinds of wines, okay? When it comes to like white wines, there's a type of wine called a Chardonnay, and that can oftentimes, not always, but sometimes you get a little hint of like butter or creaminess or vanilla. And that comes from the oak barrel that the wine was aged in. And again, it's not always, but usually when it comes to Chardonnay. There's another type of white wine called a Sauvignon Blanc, and that can have more of a citrusy or give you the taste of like stone fruits like apricots or peaches. And you know, the other thing with Sauvignon Blanc is sometimes it can taste like grapefruit and give you notes of that. And I actually hate Sauvignon Blancs that taste like grapefruit, but Other people love that, and that's fine. And brings me to another good point, is okay to like what you like. Don't let anyone say you shouldn't be drinking that, you should be drinking this. It's okay to like what you like, okay? But what we've got here, we've got a red wine in front of us. So red wines, typically they remind us of berries. They remind us of maybe some cherry or dark cherries. When it comes to like a type of red wine called a Cabernet Sauvignon, sometimes that can be a little fruity, and other times it can have a little spicy or pepperiness to it. And other times red wines can have what are referred to as earthy notes, and those can be things like smokiness, or maybe you think of some sweet barbecue or smoked meats, maybe walnuts. And other times from like aged wine, you can get a note of funk or mold on the wine, and that's actually really cool, because what's happened is the wine is picking up some of the characteristics of the cave or the wine cellar in which that wine was stored, and that cave has imparted some of its characteristics on the wine, and that's what you're tasting in it. So again, what we're looking for here is just whatever the wine reminds you of, okay? Whatever helps you determine what is you're picking up on. And so all we're going to do is just keep sipping. So I noticed before that when I smelled it, I smelled some blackberry and I smelled some raspberry. There's a little smokiness to it. When I'm tasting it, now I'm getting a little hint of, it's not very prominent, but in addition to those other things, I'm also picking up some strawberry. It really is a good wine here. So I definitely get some raspberry, and I definitely get some strawberry. And I'm also tasting that smokiness. Okay. Now, the next thing, and actually the most important thing, is do you like it or do you not like it? And you know, it doesn't matter how you grade this. It could be on a scale of 1 to 10. It can be like 1 to 5 stars. You can do a smiley face, or you can do a frowny face, or you can just do like a face with like just the straight line. You know, like it doesn't matter either way. You do a clown face, however way that it's going to remind you that you do or don't like the wine. Okay, so as long as it sticks in your mind. Now, I like this wine. I'm just going to say like on a scale of 1 to 10. I'm actually going to give this like a 7. So I reserve like 8, 9, and 10. Those are wines that like really stand out for me. 10 is kind of like, you know, wine that's just like, wow, I've never tasted anything like that before. So that's how you taste one wine. I recommend doing this for 10 different wines. Obviously not all in one sitting. But the important thing here is to, as you pick up a different bottle of wine along the way, is to remember what I've shown you here, and also to write it down, take notes, because I promise you, you will not remember each wine unless you write it down. And once you go through about 10 different wines, 10 different varietals, reds, whites, you're going to recognize what you like and what you don't like. And then eventually you won't even need to take notes at all. So, and at that point, you're going to be able to connect what you like with what's in the glass. And then at that point, you're going to be able to walk into a wine shop, and the attendant is going to ask you, how can I help you today? And at that point, you're going to be able to say, I'm looking for a red wine that's medium bodied, that's semi-sweet, and has notes of raspberry, strawberry, and a little bit smoky. And there you go. So that is wine tasting for beginners. I hope you enjoyed this video. I'm certainly enjoying this wine, and I'm going to continue drinking this wine after this video is over. Please feel free to comment below, and please follow us on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, at caliwinex. Again, my name is Mark Pryor for the California Wine Exchange, and cheers.